The cold on his hand didn't feel human. Not his palm was chilly, like he'd been outside. I mean, the skin-to-skin contact yanked something out of me, like my nerves got briefly rewired and forgot what warmth was supposed to be. I'm telling you that first because it's the only part that still feels clean and chronological. Everything after it, it's like someone took my life, hit it with a meat tenderizer, and put it back in the wrong order. It started with a fever. That's what I called it anyway because fever is a normal word and I needed something normal to hang on to. It was my last day off before I had to drag myself back into Larkin Braith, Midtown Finance, glass offices, carpets that smell faintly like burnt coffee, 100 people pretending they're not one bad quarter away from having to move back in with their parents. I'd spent most of the day in that half-dead Sunday posture. Couch, controller, greasy hair, ordering nothing, thinking about groceries the way you think about a dentist appointment. By late afternoon, I gave in. I threw on a hoodie and went to the grocery store across from my building because the idea of doing it after work the next day made me want to chew through my own wrist. I remember the deli aisle because it always reeks of vinegar and sugar, pickles and sliced ham, and those stupid little sample cups nobody trusts. I was reaching for shredded cheese for tacos when I saw him drifting down the aisle like he belonged there. He didn't. You know how you can clock someone right away? Not in a judgmental way, just the body has pattern recognition. The store was full of tired people, earbuds, bored kids. This guy was dirty, oversized cargo jacket, worn jeans, boots that had seen too many winters, tangled hair, greasy, that I've slept in places you wouldn't piss look. But his posture didn't match any of it. He walked tall, straight-backed, chin up like he'd been raised in a house with rules about how men carry themselves. And he was smiling. Big smile. Too much gum showing. Like he was practicing being friendly. "Hello, sir," he said, and his voice was calm in a way that didn't fit the rest of him. Not slurred. Not desperate. Not shaky. Clean. "May I have a moment of your time?" He held his hand out like a businessman closing a deal, except he was wearing a fingerless glove that looked like it hadn't been washed since Obama's first term. The exposed skin on his fingers was damp. Not sweaty like someone overheated. Damp like something that lived in cold places. I should have ignored him. I should have done the basic city thing. No eye contact, keep moving, pretend you didn't hear. But I was tired, and my head had already started to throb, and the social part of my brain did what it always does when it gets surprised in public. It tried to smooth things over. I sighed and shook his hand. His damp skin seeped in my dry palm, and the cold hit hard. My wrist twinged like I'd touched a live wire. "Hey," I said, pulling back fast, already annoyed at myself. "Thanks, but I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. And I don't have any change." He didn't flinch, didn't get offended, just nodded politely, still smiling. "Fair enough, sir," he said. "Have a good day." Then he plodded off like that was the end of it. I watched him approach a couple other shoppers and offer the same hand. Nobody took it. One guy actually recoiled like the man had tried to spit on him. The man's smile never changed. He just moved on, steady as a metronome. I grabbed a bottle of sanitizer from my pocket. Yeah, I'm that guy, and rubbed it into my palm until the skin stung. I remember thinking, half joking, half grossed out, that maybe he just scratched his ass and was going around sharing it with the world. Then I went home. Normal night. Gaming. Texting a couple friends. The headache sat behind my eyes like a thumb pushing in slow circles. Annoying, but manageable. I drank water. I took a couple ibuprofen. I told myself it was allergies or dehydration or just the stress hangover from thinking about spreadsheets and deadlines. But by the time the sun was going down, my head wasn't a headache anymore. It was a fucking nail. Like something was being driven down through the top of my skull, millimeter by millimeter. I tried Tylenol, tried more ibuprofen. I sat in the shower with the water hot enough to fog the mirror and still felt like my brain was vibrating. At some point, I checked my temperature because that's what you do when you want proof you're not being dramatic. 78 degrees. I actually laughed out loud at that. Like, okay, great. I'm dead. I'm a corpse scrolling Reddit. Fantastic. I wiped the thermometer and tried again. Same thing. 78.0, like it was proud of itself. I told myself the thermometer was busted. I swapped batteries. I tried the old one I'd shoved in the back of a drawer. 78 again. I sat on my bed staring at the little digital numbers until my vision blurred. My AC was rattling, and the sound was starting to make the pain worse, like every vibration was tapping directly on the nail in my skull. I turned it off. The apartment went quiet in that thick way it does when you kill the main noise source. Suddenly you can hear the refrigerator breathing, the building's pipes clicking, your own heartbeat being too loud. I tried to sleep. It took forever. My sheets felt wrong. Too warm, too scratchy, too clingy. My skin crawled like it didn't fit. I'd close my eyes and see dark shapes behind my lids, like bruises. Eventually I passed out. When I woke up, it wasn't gentle. It was like someone slapped my consciousness back into my body. 3:30 a.m. My eyes snapped open and the headache was still there, screaming. I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and texted my boss. Thank God I'm on good terms with him. Something like, hey, I'm sick as hell, I can't make it in. I expected to be wide awake after that, because that's how it works. You wake up in pain, you look at your phone, your brain decides it's time to run a marathon in your skull. But getting back to sleep was easy. Too easy. My eyelids felt heavy in a way that didn't match the pain. I dropped the phone, closed my eyes, fell straight down like an elevator cable snapped. No dreams, no drifting, just nothing. When I opened my eyes again, the window was showing the same scene I'd just woken up to. Night City. Dark sky, fluorescent streetlights making that fake orange day. Headlights gliding like fish. I blink hard. My first thought was, okay, cool. I only slept a couple hours. Still sick. Still night. Then I grabbed my phone. 8:55 p.m. Not 8:55 a.m. p.m. I sat up so fast my spine popped. What the fuck? I said, and my voice sounded rough like I'd been shouting. Had I slept through the entire day? I swung my feet off the bed and stood, expecting the headache to slam back into me. It didn't. My head felt not good, but empty, like the pain had been scooped out and left behind this fuzzy pressure. That should have been a relief. Instead, it made my stomach tighten, because my body felt wrong. My shoulders ached like I'd hauled boxes. My thighs had that sore fatigue you get after taking stairs all day. The soles of my feet felt bruised. I hadn't gone anywhere. I'd been in bed. I should have felt stiff and groggy, not used. I shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing my eyes. The lights were on. All of them. I don't leave lights on. I'm not some militant eco-warrior, but my brain is wired to turn them off without thinking because I grew up in a house where my dad would bark. We don't own the electric company. My kitchen was bright enough to make me squint. On the counter, right beside the coffee maker, was my wallet. I usually leave it on the table near the door so I can grab it on the way out. Here it was, placed neatly like someone had been trying to help me remember where it belongs. My throat went tight. I told myself, maybe I moved it. Maybe sick me did some weird shit. People sleepwalk. People do autopilot. Then I heard it, a low rumble from the laundry room. The steady thump-thump of a dryer turning. I stopped in the kitchen doorway. I hadn't even put anything in the washer. I'd been in bed. I would remember carrying a basket, dumping clothes, pouring detergent. The dryer kept going like it didn't care about my reality crisis. I walked toward it, slow, and the hair on the back of my neck lifted, that animal sense that someone is watching you recognize something you're not supposed to. The laundry room door was open a crack. Warm air leaked out with that clean, damp smell of fabric softener. Inside, the dryer was running. Through the little glass circle, I saw my clothes tumbling. Dark work slacks, socks, a button-down shirt. I stared until my eyes watered. Then I did the dumb, paranoid thing. I looked up, scanning the ceiling corners, looking for a camera, a weird blinking light, a vent that didn't match. Because the feeling of being observed was so sharp my body insisted there had to be a source. Nothing. Just my shitty ceiling and a smoke detector that needed a new battery. I backed out and went to the fridge because my hands needed something normal to do. When I opened it, my stomach dropped. Inside was a fast food burger, still wrapped in paper, sitting on the middle shelf like a prize. I don't buy fast food burgers. I'm not above it, but I hadn't. I've been planning tacos. I had cheese for tacos. I had tortillas. This wasn't mine. I stood there holding the fridge door open, cold air spilling onto my bare feet, and tried to build a story where this made sense. John? Maybe John stopped by. He had a key. No, he didn't. Chelsea? She definitely didn't. Maintenance? No. A ding sounded from my bedroom. My phone. I hadn't brought it with me. I walked back down the hall, every step making the floor creak louder than it should. The apartment felt angled wrong, like the corners had shifted, like someone had taken a picture of my place and rebuilt it from memory, but got the proportions slightly off. My phone was on the bed. No, where's? It was in a pair of work pants tossed on the opposite side from where I'd slept, like someone had taken them off in a hurry and shoved the phone into the pocket. The pants weren't there when I went to sleep. My hand started shaking as I pulled the phone out. A text notification popped up from Gigi from work. THX for the help today. My mouth went dry. Gigi was real. Gigi sat 2 pods over. Gigi was the kind of coworker who always had gum and always knew the office gossip before it hit the group chat. We weren't close, but we were friendly. Today? Help today? I opened the thread and scrolled. There was a message from 12:36 p.m. Hey, you know anything about this new notice? And below it, sent from me, was, yeah, I'll come over and let you know. Too much to explain over texts. I stared at my own words like they were written by a stranger. I hadn't texted her. I hadn't been awake. I hadn't gone anywhere. There was more. Little timestamps. A thumbs up reaction. A stupid meme she'd sent, and me laughing at it. My chest started to cramp. I looked down at myself and felt the blood drain out of my face. I wasn't wearing the t-shirt I'd fallen asleep in. I was in a white button-up, the one I wear to the office, wrinkled like it had been worn all day. My belt was on. My socks were on. Even my fucking watch was on, and I never sleep with it on. My head did that light, floaty thing like I might faint. The whispery voice in my brain, the one that shows up when your instincts are trying to keep up with your rational mind, started chanting, "Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Something is wrong." I did what I always do when my brain panics. I went looking for control. Weapons. Knives. Something sharp. I rushed to the kitchen and yanked open the knife drawer. Empty. Not just a chef's knife. Everything. The little serrated ones. The paring knife. Gone. I opened the next drawer. Empty. I checked the knife block. Empty slots like missing teeth. Then it got worse. I opened drawers that had nothing to do with knives. The junk drawer, where I keep screwdrivers, box cutters, tweezers, was stripped. The bathroom cabinet, where I keep nail clippers, razors, gone. The little sewing kit with needles, gone. Even the toothpicks in the pantry were missing. It was like someone had come through and removed anything that could puncture skin. I stood in the middle of the kitchen, breathing hard, trying not to let my mind sprint ahead into lunatic theories. I grabbed the metal bar off my coat rack, basically the closest thing I had to a weapon, and went room by room. Closet, empty except clothes. Bathroom, empty except the things that couldn't cut. Under the bed, dust bunnies and an old shoe. Behind a shower curtain, nothing. Balcony door, locked. I was alone. That should have helped. It didn't. It meant whatever had happened with me still in here. I went back to my phone and tried to unlock it, needing to call someone, needing a voice that wasn't mine. My fingers moved in the pattern they've used 1,000 times. Incorrect passcode. I blinked. Tried again. Incorrect passcode. A laugh came out of me, sharp and ugly. No, you whispered. No fucking way. I tried again. Slower. Like the phone was the problem. Incorrect passcode. I punched the mattress. Not hard enough to break anything, just hard enough to hurt my knuckles and prove I was real. Again. Incorrect. iPhone unavailable. Try again in 10 minutes. I stared at the screen until the black reflection showed my own face, pale, eyes too wide, hair mashed from sleep. and I realized I could not get into my phone. Somebody had changed it. Either somebody or something in me. My mouth tasted metallic. I moved on instinct toward the front door. Keys. Get out. Go to a neighbor. Go to the lobby. Get a doorman. Get a human. I grabbed my keys from the hook. The metal felt normal. My hand was still shaking. My fingers wrapped around the doorknob. The pain was immediate and so bright my vision went white. It wasn't a shock like a static zap. It was like red-hot needles stabbed under every fingernail at once. My whole hand seized. My arm went numb up to the elbow like it had been injected with something cold. I screamed, like full animal scream. My knees buckled. I jerked back and stumbled into the wall, clutching my hand. My fingers were curled wrong, spasmed. Then a second sensation crawled up my arm, slow and awful, like a jellyfish tentacle wrapping around the nerves. It didn't just hurt, it paralyzed. It made my muscles forget how to listen. I held my limp arm up with my other hand and watched it dangle, useless, while pain pulsed through in waves that made me nauseous. I tried to flex my fingers. Nothing. I swallowed bile and forced myself to breathe. In, out, in, out. The air smelled like my apartment, stale conditioner, detergent, whatever that burger smell was. My eyes flicked to the door again. The knob looked normal. No sparks, no marks, just cheap brass. I reached out with my good hand, slower this time, barely grazing the deadbolt. A tingling heat licked my fingertips, and I pulled back like the door was a stove burner. No, I said aloud because saying it made it real. No, 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 no. I staggered to the window because if the door was blocked, maybe I could open the window and scream for help or climb. Stupid, but panic isn't smart. I got within inches of the curtain and stopped. The air near the glass had a faint prickling sensation, like standing too close to an old CRT TV. My fingers tingled with that same building heat. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. It felt like my apartment wasn't just locked. It was sealed. I backed up and sat hard on the couch, cradling my useless arm like it belonged to someone else. For a while, I just existed there, breathing, listening to the drier thump in the other room like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. After maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20, time was slippery. My arm began to return. Not all at once. First a tiny twitch in my thumb. Then a sharp, ache sensation crawled back down the nerve pathways. Then I could curl one finger. Then another. Every movement felt like fighting through wet cement. Eventually I could make a fist. Eventually I could roll my shoulder. I didn't feel relieved. I felt watched. I tried the phone again after the 10 minutes. Still locked, obviously. Still my lifeline, sitting behind a wall of numbers I didn't know anymore. I paced my apartment like a trapped animal. I checked the door again without touching it, staring at it like I could intimidate it. I checked the windows again, waving my hand near the glass and feeling that faint invisible barrier humming. My brain tried to stitch together explanations that didn't sound insane. Sleepwalking. Maybe I want to work sick. Maybe I got confused. Maybe I ate fast food. Maybe I did laundry. Maybe I changed my passcode in some fever delirium and forgot. But that didn't explain the barrier. That didn't explain my knives being gone. That didn't explain my arm being zapped like I'd touched a cattle fence. At some point I noticed something new and it made my stomach go cold. There was a post-it note on the inside of my kitchen cabinet door. Bright yellow, stuck there like it had always been there. It hadn't. I opened the cabinet slowly, like it might bite me. The post-it had neat handwriting on it. Not mine. Rounded letters, confident. At the top someone had written, "Interim procedure, do not ignore." Under were rules. Not like wash your hands. Like rules that sounded like they'd been made by someone who'd watched people die in a very specific way. Rule 1. Don't touch any exit hardware barehanded. Use cloth or sleeve. If you already did, wait it out. Don't panic. Rule 2. If you wake up and it's 8:55, don't unlock your phone. Don't try your old code. Leave it alone for 10 minutes. Rule 3. Never look at your veins under bright light when you feel better. Rule 4. Do not eat food you don't remember bringing home, especially meat. Rule 5. If you hear the dryer and you didn't start it, let it finish. Do not open it mid-cycle. I read them twice. 3 times. Rule 1 made my throat tighten because, yeah, okay. Wish I'd read that one sooner. Rule 2 made my skin prickle because it referenced the exact time. Rule 3 made me swallow hard because I had this crawling sense that it wasn't metaphorical. Rule 4 made me glance toward the fridge like there was a bomb inside it. Rule 5 made my eyes flick toward the laundry room, where the dryer was still going, dutifully finishing whatever job it had been told to do. On the bottom of the post-it was a tiny scribble, like a signature. Gigi. My legs went weak, and I had to grip the counter. How the hell had Gigi been in my apartment? How the hell had I been with Gigi today? I went back to my bedroom and searched the floor for anything else out of place. That's when I noticed my shoes. My work shoes, normally by the door, were by the closet, scuffed with a line of dried mud along the sole. Mud. It hadn't rained in days. My heart started pounding again, harder, and my brain did that thing where it starts whispering the worst possibilities like it's trying to prepare you. Something came in. Something went out. Something used you. I tried the phone again at some point, not because I thought it would work, but because doing something felt better than standing still. I stared at it. I waited. I tried the passcode again, slowly, like maybe my fingers had been wrong. Locked. I threw it onto the bed and immediately regretted it, because now I didn't even trust the bed. I didn't eat. The thought of that burger made my stomach twist. I didn't open the dryer because Rule 5 felt like one of those sounds stupid until you don't follow it and you die kind of rules. I did open the dryer when it finally stopped on its own. The inside was warm and smelled like clean cotton. My clothes were neatly tumbled, dry, folded wrong. Like someone had tried to fold them, but didn't know how I do it. On top of the stack of clothes was another thing that didn't belong, a small white envelope with the Lark and Braith logo on it. My pulse thudded in my ears as I opened it. Inside was a printed sheet of paper. It was titled in bold corporate font, Temporary Compliance Notice, Client Contact / Health and Safety. It looked like a normal HR memo until you actually read it. It listed the exact same rules as the post-it, but dressed in corporate language, like a monster wearing a tie. Do not make unloved skin contact with building entry / exit fixtures. Limit device authentication attempts immediately after unscheduled rest periods. Employees experiencing sudden relief of symptoms should avoid inspection of superficial veins in high-intensity light. Do not consume unlogged food items. Do not interrupt appliance cycles initiated during unaccounted time. At the bottom was a paragraph about incident containment and personal liability and employee cooperation. And there was an incident report number. Like this had happened before. I sat down on the floor with the memo in my hand and laughed, but it came out like a sob. Lark and Braith had sent this to employees. Gigi had texted me about it. I had apparently gone to her and explained it, which meant someone at my job knew exactly what was happening to me. And the way they handled it was by sending out a fucking memo. I wanted to smash something. I wanted to kick a hole in the wall. I wanted to scream until the neighbors called the cops. Instead, I sat there on the kitchen floor, shaking, and stared at the memo until the words blurred. I tried to think about the man in the deli aisle again because my brain kept circling back to his hand. The damn cold. The way my wrist had twitched. Had he given me something? Had he tagged me? Like a virus. Like a parasite. The thought made my skin itch. Night stretched on, heavy and bright with the city glow outside. I kept checking the time like time owed me answers. The barrier at the door and window never stopped humming at the edge of my senses. I stayed away from them like they were electrified animal fences because they were. I tried to sleep again and couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, my body would jerk like it was falling. That sinking elevator feeling, except it didn't stop. At some point, I started talking out loud, just to hear a human voice. Mostly swearing. Mostly, what the fuck is happening to me? The dryer clicked softly as it cooled. The fridge buzzed. I sat on the couch and watched the ceiling until my eyes burned. Around dawn, the city got that pre-sunlight gray. the kind that makes everything look unfinished. I could see it through the window without going too close. That's when the tiredness hit. Not normal tired. Not, I'm exhausted. This was chemical, like something in my blood flipped a switch and dumped liquid lead into my muscles. My arms felt heavy. My jaw felt heavy. Even my eyelids felt like they had weights stitched into them. I tried to stand and my knees wobbled. I tried to pace and my feet dragged. Fear punched through the exhaustion. Because I knew, somehow I knew, this wasn't my choice. I stumbled toward the bathroom to splash water on my face, and my legs gave out halfway. I caught myself on the couch and nearly missed, landing hard. My body slumped. My mind screamed, "Stay awake." The whispery, instinct voice was frantic now, like a trapped animal. If you fall asleep, you don't know what you'll do. You don't know where you'll go. You don't know what it will use you for. I tried to fight it. I dug my nails into my palm. I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. It didn't matter. The exhaustion climbed over me like a wave, and I was suddenly drowning in my own body. My vision narrowed. The edges went dark. And right before my eyes fully closed, Rule 3 flashed in my mind. Never look at your veins under bright light when you feel better. I didn't feel better, but I felt this strange absence of pain again, that hollow relief that had scared me earlier. My gaze slid down to my forearms, because fear makes you do exactly what you shouldn't. My skin was pale in the early gray light. My veins stood out faintly blue, like thin wires under meat. Then something moved. It was subtle at first, like a muscle twitch, like a pulse, but it wasn't synced to my heartbeat. A thin black line shifted under the blue, sliding along the vein like a worm under damp dirt. Tiny offshoots branched from it, little root fingers that pressed against the vein wall from the inside. It tickled, not on the skin, under it, inside me. My breath hitched. The thing paused like it noticed it had been noticed. Then it pulled back. It didn't wriggle like an earthworm. It slid like a cable being reeled in. The sensation was nauseatingly intimate, like having blood drawn, except the needle was moving through you. I tried to scream, and my throat barely pushed out a rasp. My whole body went heavy, heavier, like the thing was dragging me down from the inside. My vision tunneled. The last thing I saw before the world went out was that black root slipping deeper, disappearing into the blue line like it owned the place. And then I dropped into nothing again. The next time I came back up, my hand was already reaching for my phone, like my body had learned the routine faster than my brain could. My eyes opened. My throat felt like sandpaper. My tongue tasted like pennies. I was sitting upright on the couch, not slumped like I'd been when I blacked out. My posture was composed, like I'd been waiting. Then my mind caught up, and I jerked like I'd been yanked by a string. I snatched the phone off the cushion. 8:55 p.m. Same time, same exact minute. Like the day had been sliced out clean and tossed in the trash. I didn't even have the energy to panic loud. It just crawled through me, cold and quiet. A dread that felt practiced now. The screen lit with a new notification. Unknown number. Hope you made it back all right. I had a great time. Smiley face. My stomach did a slow flip. I stared at the smiley face like it was evidence from a crime scene. I didn't know that number. I didn't know anyone who texted like that. And made it back from where? I looked up because something in the room was different in that subtle way you only notice after you've already been betrayed by your own space once. On my nightstand, like it had always belonged there, was a vase. Not mine. I don't own a vase. The only flowers that ever came into my apartment were whatever my mom bullied me into accepting on my birthday, and those went straight into a beer bottle. This was a real glass vase, clear, heavy-looking, filled with flowers I couldn't name. Not roses. Something pale, almost gray-pink, with petals that looked bruised at the edges. The water in the vase wasn't clear. It had a faint, cloudy tint, like someone had rinsed a paintbrush in it. I got off the couch slowly, every muscle sore like I'd been worked. My shoulders felt like someone had held me down. My knuckles ached. I went into the kitchen because that's where the other surprises always were. The fridge opened with that soft suction pop. The burger was gone. The first thought that hit me was a dumb one. Relief, like, okay, great, I ate it, at least it's not sitting here rotting. Then I looked down. There were muddy boot prints on my kitchen tile. Big ones, heavy tread, wet at first, then drying into dark shapes. They started at the window. My window. Boot prints came in from the direction of the glass, crossed the kitchen, paused at the fridge like whoever made them stood there for a second, then continued through the apartment toward the bedroom. My mouth went dry. I walked to the window and stopped short, not getting too close. The air around it still had that faint hum, like heat shimmer you can feel more than see. The prints are on the inside. Whatever made them was in here with me. And then it clicked in a way that made my stomach drop right through the floor. The barrier wasn't stopping everything. It was stopping me. The version of me that was awake and terrified and trying to escape. But whatever drove my body during the day, whatever wore my skin like a coat, the thing could go in and out like it owned the place. I backed away from the window, heart thumping, and my eyes snagged on the kitchen cabinet. The post-it was still there. The rules, bright yellow, neat handwriting, the little G. I read them again because I couldn't help it. Like reading them made them stronger. Rule 2 stared back at me. If you wake up and it's 8:55, don't unlock your phone. Don't try your old code. Leave it alone for 10 minutes. I hadn't listened, and now I had this new text and these flowers and these boot prints. Something about that number and the word great time made my skin crawl. Like I've been out there, smiling, saying things I didn't mean with my mouth. I checked my arms before I could stop myself. I lifted them under the kitchen light. The veins looked normal. Blue. Still. No black root writhing around like it had earlier. Rule 3 echoed anyway. Never look at your veins under bright light when you feel better. I dropped my sleeves down fast like that could undo it. I sat at my kitchen table and tried to think like a sane person. Okay, say I went to work. Say I met someone after. Say I came home. Say someone else came in through the window and ate the burger and tracked mud through my place. Say I changed my passcode. Say I left myself rules in my own cabinet and then forgot. None of it fit together. And it didn't explain the electric door. It didn't explain the 78 degrees. It didn't explain the thing in my veins. My laptop was on the counter, lid closed. I hadn't touched it since before all this. I opened it like it might bite me. The screen lit immediately. No password prompt. No lock screen. It was already logged in. My email was open in a browser tab. Not my personal, my work email. There was an unread message at the top of the inbox. Subject line in all caps like someone panicking in HR. Temporary compliance notice. Acknowledgement required. I clicked it. It was from someone I'd never seen email before. Compliance liaison. No first name. No signature. Just a block of text with the same sanitized language as the memo. Except this one had teeth. Per incident report 24-11B. Your acknowledgement is overdue. Failure to comply increases risk of secondary awareness and may result in escalation to physical restraint protocols. You have been provided interim procedure notes. For your safety and for asset continuity, do not attempt to exit your unit during unaccounted periods. Asset continuity. I stared at those words until my eyes burned. I scrolled down. There was a second email in the thread earlier in the day. From me. Got it, it said. I'll follow procedure. I'll keep him calm. Keep him calm. My stomach lurched. I slammed the laptop shut like the words could crawl out. I sat there with my hands on my knees, breathing through my nose, trying not to vomit. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to call literally anyone. But my phone was a locked brick, and my laptop was apparently already in bed with whatever was happening. I opened the laptop again, slower this time, and went to my personal email. The password was saved. Thank God. I tried to compose a message to my friend John. Something is wrong. I think I'm being drugged, or... My fingers froze above the keys. Because I didn't trust the laptop either. If it was using my accounts, if it was sending emails from me, then any message I sent could be intercepted, edited, erased. I typed anyway. Fast. Sloppy. Like speed could beat whatever was watching. John. Something is wrong. I keep losing time. I wake up at 8:55 p.m. and whole days are missing. I can't leave my apartment. If you get this, please come to my building. Please. I hit send. It didn't go. A little red banner appeared. Message blocked. Suspicious activity detected. My heart hammered. I tried again, sending from another account, another address. Blocked. Every time blocked. Like someone had preemptively flagged me as a threat to myself. I slammed the laptop shut again and stood up so fast the chair skidded. Okay, I said out loud. Okay, fine. Fine, if you're gonna play it that way. I searched the apartment with a new purpose, anything analog. Anything that didn't run on passwords and two-factor authentication and corporate compliance. I found a notebook in a drawer, a cheap one, half-used, grocery lists and doodles. I flipped to a blank page and started writing in big letters. If you wake up at 8:55, you are not alone in your body. Do not trust messages sent by you. Do not go to work. Then I hesitated because that sounded insane. Then I wrote anyway because sanity wasn't saving me. I stuffed the notebook under my pillow like a secret. Then I tried to think like an animal again. A trapped animal. How do you get out of a cage? You break the cage. I grabbed the metal coat rack bar again and walked toward the window, staying just far enough that my skin didn't prickle with that invisible fence. I swung the bar through the air once, twice, feeling the weight. I stepped closer, heart pounding. The hum got stronger. My teeth felt like they buzzed. I raised the bar. My wrists locked. Not physically, like my muscles just refused. Like I was being told no. I tried again, forcing it. The bar moved a couple inches, and my arm seized with that same jellyfish numbness. The same crawling paralysis. The bar clanged to the floor. My hand went limp. I gasped, teeth clenched, as pain radiated from my fingertips up to my elbow like someone had poured hot sand into my nerves. It wasn't just an electric fence. It was a discipline tool. It wasn't meant to keep burglars out. It was meant to keep me in line. I sat on the floor, shaking, waiting for my hand to come back like last time. When it did, it came with an itch under my skin. A deep itch, like something in the vein walls was stretching awake. I kept my sleeves down. Hours passed like that. Pacing, sitting, staring at the flowers like they might move. I couldn't stop thinking about that unknown number. Had I gone on a date? With who? Why were there flowers? Why muddy boot print from the window? I tried to force memories out of my own head like squeezing water from a rag. Nothing came. Just the image of the man in the deli aisle, that cold, damp hand, and the way he'd smiled like he'd already won. Around dawn, the fatigue hit again. Same wave, same chemical heaviness. I saw it coming this time, and the fear hit harder. No, I said, already standing, already grabbing at furniture like it could anchor me. No, fuck you. I dragged the couch in front of the door, even though I knew the door wasn't my way out. It was a gesture, a tantrum, a way to say I wasn't cooperating. I dragged my kitchen chair into the hallway, jammed it against the couch like a shitty barricade. My body didn't care. The lead in my muscles thickened. My eyelids tried to close. I grabbed the Post-it and read Rule 1 again. Don't touch any exit hardware barehanded. Use cloth or sleeve. If you already did, wait it out. Don't panic. Don't panic. Easy to write on a Post-it. Harder when you're about to black out and something else is about to stand up in your skin. I looked around for rope, for duct tape, for anything to restrain myself. But of course, anything like that was gone too. I didn't realize it until I was tearing through cabinets, then the closet, then the junk drawer. No tape, no string, no zip ties. Even my spare shoelaces were missing. Like someone had predicted this exact reaction and preemptively removed the tools. I grabbed my belt off my waist anyway and looped it around my wrist and the heavy kitchen table leg. I tightened it until my fingers tingled. My hand was shaking so hard it took 3 tries to buckle it. Then I did the other wrist. Awkward, tight, hurt like hell. But I did it. I sat on the floor with my back against the table, wrists bound to it, breathing hard, waiting for the wave to pull me under. The exhaustion slammed into me. My chin dropped to my chest. My muscles melted. I fought it like you fight drowning. Ugly, desperate, pointless. The last thing I remember is the feeling of the belt cutting into my skin and a faint, almost amused warmth curling in my veins like something approving my effort. Then nothing. When I came back, I was in my bed. Of course I was. My wrists were free. The belt was folded neatly on the nightstand like laundry, and my wrists were bruised in perfect circles, purple-black like fingerprints. I sat up and stared at them, swallowing bile. On the bed beside me was my notebook. Open. The page I'd written on was there, but something had been added beneath my warning in different handwriting, tighter, sharper. He doesn't like the word alone. It makes him restless. Under that, in the same handwriting, a single line. Don't restrain the asset. You'll only hurt yourself. I sat there for a long time, breathing, listening to my own blood in my ears, trying not to scream. I checked the phone. 8:55 p.m. Another missing day. There were new texts. From my boss, this time, not just Gigi. Where are you? Call me. Then another. We need you in. This isn't optional. Then another. Stop fucking around. HR says you acknowledge procedure. 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 My phone was still locked out. Same passcode wrong. Same brick. I threw it onto the bed again and immediately regretted it again, like I'd thrown a piece of myself away. The flowers were gone. The vase was still there, empty, with a faint ring of cloudy residue inside, like someone had poured something thick into it and rinsed it out. The muddy boot prints had multiplied. Not just one track from window to fridge now. There were loops, back and forth patterns, like someone had paced my apartment in boots, waiting, watching. One set of prints went right up to my bedroom door and stopped, like whoever made them had stood there for a while, listening to me sleep. I stepped over the prints carefully, feeling like I was stepping over graves. The dryer was running again. I hadn't started it. Rule 5 stared at me from the cabinet. If you hear the dryer and you didn't start it, let it finish. Do not open it mid-cycle. I stood in the hallway, listening to it thump, and realized something that made my skin go cold all over again. The dryer wasn't doing laundry. It was masking sound. It was a heartbeat, a lullaby, a way to cover up whatever else was happening during the day. Maybe for the neighbors, maybe for me. I pressed my ear to the laundry room wall, listening past the dryer's rumble. For a second, I heard something else underneath it. A wet, slow scraping sound, like a mop dragging across tile. Then it stopped, swallowed by the steady thump. I backed away. I went to my laptop again because I had no other tools left. I opened it with shaking hands. It was still logged into work email. There was a new message at the top, subject line. Escalation notice, restraint attempt documented. I laughed, actually laughed this raw, ugly bark. They knew. Of course they knew. I clicked it. Your attempt to restrain the asset has been documented. Physical harm increases risk of rupture. Rupture is costly. Do not attempt again. Continue interim procedure. Compliance will be rewarded with reduced symptom severity. Reduced symptom severity. Like they were training a dog. I scrolled down and saw attachments, an incident report addendum, and something called Asset Continuity FAQ. I clicked the FAQ because if I didn't, I'd just sit here and rot. It was written in that same corporate voice, the one that makes everything sound boring and inevitable. Question: why do I experience missing time? A. Unaccounted periods may occur as the asset transitions between awareness states. This is normal. Resist the urge to panic. Question: why can't I exit my residence? A. Environmental safeguards may be engaged to prevent harm to self and others during elevated awareness states. Question: what is secondary awareness? A. Secondary awareness is the asset's attempt to observe or interfere with continuity. It is disruptive and may cause pain. Question: who should I contact? A. Do not contact external parties. Liaise with your designated compliance liaison or trained staff, e.g., GGR, GGR. So it was really her. Or at least, the company wanted me to think it was her. There was a section called handshake exposure. My throat tightened. It described initial contact vectors and cold perspiration and symptom onset within 12 to 24 hours. Like they had a goddamn brochure for the thing that was inside me. It ended with a sentence that made my fingers go numb on the keyboard. Exposure often occurs via voluntary contact, e.g., handshake. Asset acceptance is crucial for stability. Acceptance, not infection, not contamination. Acceptance, like I'd agreed. I slammed the laptop shut again and stood, pacing, jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. I wanted to break something again, but there was nothing left in my apartment that I trusted enough to smash without it turning into another compliance email. I went to the bathroom and turned the sink on as cold as it would go. I splashed water on my face until my cheeks burned. I stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes looked wrong. Not possessed movie wrong. Not glowing. Just tired. Too awake. Like someone had been living behind them all day. I rolled up my sleeves before I could stop myself. Rule 3 screamed in my head. But I needed to see. Under the bathroom light, my veins stood out more clearly. Blue lines. Normal. Then I held my breath and watched. At first, nothing. Then a faint shadow slid beneath the blue. Not writhing. Not twitching. Just gliding. Like a thin black thread being pulled through wet tubing. It moved with intention. It paused at my wrist, right where the bruise from the belt was darkest. And I swear to God, it pressed outward just enough to make the vein wall bulge like it was testing the skin from inside. My stomach lurched. I dropped my sleeve like it was burning. The thing slid away, deeper gone. I leaned over the sink and dry heaved until my throat hurt. I didn't have a knife. I didn't have scissors. I didn't even have a razor. They made sure I couldn't dig it out. I went back to the kitchen and stared at the cabinet posted again like it might change. I noticed something I hadn't earlier. Above the rules, written smaller, almost like an afterthought, was a line. Only safe window, 8:55 dawn. So that was what this was. Not just a loop, not just missing time. It was a schedule. At 8:55 p.m., I woke up. At dawn, I got put down. During the day, something else drove. My apartment wasn't just a prison. It was a kennel. The next night, I tried something different. I waited. I didn't touch the door. I didn't touch the window. I didn't try to brute force anything. I watched the muddy boot prints. I watched the empty vase. I watched the dryer spin. I wrote in the notebook like my life depended on it because I was starting to believe it did. I wrote questions. I wrote dates. I wrote everything I could observe because the only weapon I had left was pattern recognition. At 2:17 a.m., my laptop pinged. A calendar invite from Gigi. No subject, just a meeting request for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning at the office. Location, L&B, Compliance Room 3. I stared at it, heart pounding. It was like she was inviting the version of me that wasn't me. Or maybe she was trying to reach me the only way she could, through the routine. I clicked decline. The invite disappeared, then reappeared, this time with a note. Stop declining. It makes him angry. My blood went cold. I typed back, fingers shaking. Gigi, is this you? No response. I typed, did you leave the rules in my cabinet? A pause. Then, yes. Then, another message like she'd been holding it back. Don't say his name. My mouth went dry. What is his name? I typed anyway, because I'm an idiot, because fear makes you poke the bear, because part of me needed to know what to call the thing eating my life. The laptop screen flickered. Just once. Like a blink. Then the cursor moved on its own and typed a response without my hands touching the keyboard. No. It was in all caps. The air in the kitchen felt heavier, like pressure dropping before a storm. My skin prickled. I slammed the laptop shut and backed away. The dryer's thump suddenly sounded louder. Under it for a second, I heard that wet scraping again. And then, this time, I heard a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails on glass. From the window, I froze. Every hair on my body lifted. I stood perfectly still and listened. Talp, talp, talp. Slow, patient. like someone knocking politely on a door they knew I couldn't open. I didn't go near the window. I couldn't. The hum would hit me and I'd drop. But I could see it from the angle of my hallway. A shadow moved across the curtain. Not outside, inside. My mouth went dry. The tapping stopped. The shadow lingered, like whoever or whatever was standing with its face inches from my glass, listening to me breathe. Then it moved away, and I heard something that made my stomach twist. A soft, wet sniffing sound, like an animal. Then silence. I didn't sleep that night. Not willingly. At dawn, the wave came anyway. I tried to fight it again, but I didn't restrain myself this time. I didn't want more bruises. I didn't want to give them another email to gloat over. I sat on the couch with my notebook open and a pen in my hand, and I wrote until the letters swam. The last thing I managed to scribble was, "If you are reading this, you are the one who's scared. He will try to make you think you agreed. You didn't. You just shook a hand." Then my pen slipped from my fingers. The darkness took me. When I woke up, it was 8:55 p.m. Of course it was. But this time my apartment looked staged. Not just someone moved my wallet. There were things arranged like props. My couch cushions were perfectly aligned. My blinds were half open at the exact same angle. My shoes were lined up at the door like a showroom. My stomach turned at the thought that someone had spent time making my prison look tidy. On the kitchen table was a takeout bag. My name was written on it in marker. Inside was food, meat. Rule for hit my brain like a slap. Do not eat food you don't remember bringing home, especially meat. I didn't touch it. Beside the bag was a pair of black nitrile gloves. Brand new, still in the little plastic wrap. Rule 1 suddenly had teeth. Don't touch any exit hardware barehanded. Use cloth or sleeve. I stared at the gloves until my eyes watered. It felt like a gift. It felt like a test. I put them on anyway because I'm not stupid enough to ignore the first actual tool they'd left me. The gloves snapped at my wrists. They smelled like rubber and powder. I walked to the front door, heart pounding, and gripped the doorknob. No pain. No red-hot needles. No paralysis. My breath caught. I turned it slowly. The latch clicked. The door opened a crack. Cold hallway air slid in, smelling like someone's curry and carpet cleaner and old building dust. I stood there frozen, half expecting the invisible barrier to slam into me like a wall. It didn't. I opened the door wider. The hallway looked normal. Beige walls, dim lights, my neighbor's doormat with some stupid quote on it. I stepped out. My legs shook like I was walking on a ship. I turned to look back into my apartment, and for a second, with the door open, the inside looked too neat, too arranged, like a hotel room reset between guests. The thought made bile rise in my throat. I forced myself to move. I went toward the elevator. Every step felt like I was doing something illegal. The elevator call button was there, but when I raised my gloved finger to press it, my hand hesitated. Because Rule 1 said exit hardware. It didn't say elevator. I pressed it anyway. The button lit. No pain. The elevator dinged. The doors opened with that slow mechanical sigh, and the inside smelled like metal and stale perfume. I stepped in and pressed L. Lobby. The button lit. The doors closed. The elevator started moving. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might pass out right there, and then wake up in my bed again with another email telling me to stop trying. The elevator slowed. Ding! The doors opened, and it wasn't the lobby. It was my office. Not exactly, but close enough that my brain tried to accept it for half a second. Same gray carpet, same glass walls, same sterile overhead lights. But the space beyond the elevator was empty. No people, no computers, no noise. Just the office layout like a movie set after everyone left. The fluorescent lights buzzed, too loud in the silence. My mouth went dry. I stepped out slowly. The elevator doors shut behind me with a soft thunk, and the sound echoed like a coffin lid. I turned and slapped the call button. Nothing. No light. Nothing. The elevator panel was blank, like it had never existed. I spun around, breathing hard, and started walking down the hallway because standing still felt like dying. The office was wrong in small ways. The angles were off, like my apartment had been. The glass walls were a fraction too tall. The doors were all closed, and the handles were all missing. Not broken, removed clean, like the knives. I walked toward where my pod should have been. The cubicles were there, but empty. No monitors, no photos, no mugs, except one. On the desk that should have been mine was a single object, a nameplate. It wasn't my name. It said, Asset Continuity Operations. My stomach dropped. Next to it was another yellow post-it, same handwriting as the cabinet. Don't go to the compliance room. Under that second line, different handwriting, sharper like the one in my notebook. He'll take your tongue first. I backed away so fast I bumped into a cubicle wall. My breath came out in a thin, panicked wheeze. This wasn't escape. This was another layer of the cage. The office lights flickered once, as if something had noticed my presence. And then I heard footsteps. Not running, not rushing. Slow, deliberate steps on carpet, approaching from the hallway behind me. I turned. At the far end of the glass corridor was someone in a suit. Tall, straight-backed, walking with that same confident gait. My blood went cold. Even from that distance, I recognized the smile. Too wide, too much gum. The man from the deli aisle. He raised a hand like he was greeting an old friend, and he didn't have a glove on anymore. His fingers were bare, damp, and the skin looked wrong. Not infected, not rotten, just stretched like the hand had been worn by too many people. He didn't speak at first. He just kept walking toward me, slow and easy, like he owned the place. I tried to move, but my legs went heavy like the dawn wave had come early. My gloved hands started tingling, like the barrier was shifting. "Hello, sir," he said, voice calm and clear like he was still in that grocery store. "May I have a moment of your time?" My throat closed up. I swallowed hard. "No," I forced out. "No, get the fuck away from me." He smiled wider. "You've been doing so well," he said. "You're learning." I backed toward the wall, eyes darting for an exit, a door, anything. All the doors had no handles. The glass walls reflected me back at myself, pale and sweating, like a trapped animal in a lab. The man stopped about 10 feet away, close enough that I could smell him. Not body odor, not sweat, something mineral, like wet stone, like river water. "You shouldn't fight," he said gently, like advice. "Fighting tears the roots." My stomach lurched. He tilted his head, studying me. His eyes were bright and empty in a way that made my skin crawl, like they weren't attached to a person with a childhood, like they were windows into a machine. "You want to know why you can't remember?" he asked. I didn't answer. He smiled anyway. "Because remembering is a privilege," he said, "and privileges are earned." He took one step closer. My gloved hands tingled harder. "Stay back," I said, voice shaking. "I swear to God." "God doesn't work here," he said, and that was the first time his voice showed a crack of something under the polite tone. Something annoyed, something hungry. The lights buzzed louder. My ears rang. I felt something stir in my veins. Not a twitch, a stretch, like a cat waking up. I clenched my fists so hard my nails bit into the gloves. The man's smile softened, almost pitying. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. "I'm not here for that." He lifted his bare hand again. "I'm here to introduce you properly," he said. "You were rude last time." He took another step. My body moved without permission. Not fully, just a shift. A lean forward like someone had tugged a string attached to my spine. I stumbled and caught myself. My mouth opened, and for a horrifying second, I thought I was about to say something friendly. I bit my tongue hard. Pain snapped me back. "No," I rasped, spitting blood. "No, get out of my head." His eyes flickered with something like amusement. "It's not your head," he said. "It's your bloodstream." He stepped closer. My arm lifted again, involuntary, gloved hand reaching out like it was magnetized. I fought it. I dragged my own arm down with my other hand, muscles shaking. The man watched like a scientist watching a lab rat figure out a lever. Gigi told you the rules, he said casually. My heart slammed. You leave her alone. I snapped, sudden anger cutting through the terror. He smiled. She's fine, he said. She's useful. She's smart. She's accepted. Accepted. He took one more step. My vision blurred at the edges. The office lights smeared. And then, behind him, at the far end of the corridor, I saw another figure. A woman. Small. Standing still. Hair pulled back. Hands at her sides. Gigi. I recognized her posture before my brain could argue. The way she stood when she was waiting for the microwave at work. The way she held herself like she was trying to take up as little space as possible. Her face was pale under the fluorescent lights. She raised one hand slightly, palm out like a warning, and she mouthed something. Not a name. A word. Run. My feet moved before I could think. I bolted down the corridor, not toward the elevator that had disappeared, but toward the open floor, toward the cubicles, toward anything that wasn't that man's bare hand reaching for me. The carpet muffled my footsteps. The silence swallowed my breathing. Behind me, I didn't hear him chase. That was worse. I ran until my lungs burned, weaving between empty cubicles, glass walls reflecting me in fragments. I spotted a door at the far end, an emergency stairwell, the kind with the push bar. Exit hardware. Rule 1. Gloves still on. I slammed the push bar. The door opened. Cold air hit me. Real air. Concrete stairs spiraled down into darkness. I took the first step, and my body locked. Not pain, not paralysis, just refusal. Like the muscles had been unplugged. I stood frozen in the doorway, half in, half out, trembling, unable to take another step. Behind me, the man's voice drifted calmly through the empty office. That's enough, he said, like speaking to a dog. My jaw clenched. I tried to force my leg down the stair. It wouldn't move. My hand started to shake violently. I felt the roots in my veins tighten, like fingers curling around a throat. Then from behind me, Gigi's voice, real close, whispered sharply, "Don't fight on the stairs. You'll fall. You'll break. He'll still drive you." I jerked my head. She was there now, right behind me, eyes wide, face slick with sweat like she'd been running too. "How are you here?" I hissed. "No time," she snapped. Her voice was combative, clipped, like she was constantly trying to stay ahead of panic. "He gave you gloves because he wanted you to come. This is a lesson. Everything is a lesson." Her gaze flicked past me into the office. "He's not chasing because he doesn't have to," she said. "He's already in the line." "The line," I whispered. Gigi grabbed my wrist, gloved, and yanked me back into the office away from the stairs. As soon as my foot hit the carpet again, my muscles loosened. I could move. "That stairwell isn't real," she said. "It's a drop. It ends wrong. He likes when people pick that one." "Ich sterte her," tears heaving. Her eyes looked like mine. Too awake, too tired, like she'd been carrying a secret that weighed 100 pounds. "You left me the rules," I said. "Yeah," she snapped. "Because nobody left me anything when it started. I had to learn by bleeding." "Who is he?" I demanded, and immediately regretted it because she flinched like I'd slapped her. "Don't," she hissed. "Don't ask. Don't say. Don't put it in your mouth." I swallowed hard. "What is this?" I asked instead, voice shaking. "What is in me?" Gigi's jaw clenched. She looked past me like she couldn't stand looking at my face. "It's not a worm," she said. "Not exactly. It's like a root system, a network. It wants you upright. It wants you functional. It wants your hands." "My hands," I echoed, thinking about the handshake, thinking about the doorknob pain, thinking about the way my arm had lifted toward that man without my permission. Gigi nodded once, sharp. "Hands are how it spreads," she said. "Hands are how it steers." Behind us, the fluorescent lights flickered again. Gigi stiffened. "He's coming," she whispered. I turned, and the man was there, closer than he should have been, as if distance didn't apply to him in this place. His smile hadn't changed. He looked at Gigi like a disappointed teacher. "You shouldn't interfere," he said softly. Gigi's shoulders squared like she was bracing for impact. "Fuck you," she said, and my stomach flipped because hearing that in her voice sounded like hearing someone swear in church. His smile tightened. "I don't like that word," he said, voice still calm but colder now. Gigi swallowed. Her eyes flicked toward me. "Don't let him take your mouth," she whispered, barely audible. Then she stepped forward between me and him, like she could block him with her body. The man lifted his bare hand. Gigi lifted hers, not to shake, to slap his hand away. The moment her palm touched his skin, she screamed. Not a normal scream, not pain from a burn. It was like her whole nervous system fired at once. She collapsed her knees, clutching her arm, eyes rolling back. The man's smile returned, satisfied. "That," he said, almost kindly, "is why we have procedure." I lunged toward her without thinking. My body jerked halfway and stopped, like a dog hitting the end of a leash. My veins tightened, my muscles locked. The man looked at me, eyes bright. "You're getting agitated," he said. Agitation leads to rupture. I wanted to spit at him. I wanted to bite. I wanted to do anything that wasn't standing there like a puppet. Gigi was on the carpet, gasping, trembling. She looked up at me, eyes glassy, and mouthed again, "Dawn." Then her gaze went unfocused, like something inside her switched off. The man's attention slid away from her like she'd become a chair. He focused on me again. "You see," he said, "resistance is expensive." He stepped closer. His bare hand hovered in the air between us like an offer. "Be polite this time," he said. My gloved hand twitched. Not my choice. I felt my arm lifting, slow, inexorable. I tried to yank it down. My muscles trembled. My teeth clenched. The man's smile widened. "That's it," he murmured. "Let's complete the circuit." My gloved fingers reached his damp skin, and the glove made a difference. The cold hit through the thin rubber, but it was muted, dulled, like touching a battery through plastic. The man's smile faltered, just a fraction. His eyes narrowed. He pulled his hand back like he'd been stung. Gigi's rules. The gloves. Rule 1. It wasn't just to protect me from the door. It was to keep me from making direct skin contact with him. The realization punched through my panic like a sudden breath of air. The man's voice lost its polite smoothness for the first time. "Take them off," he said. My body flinched. The roots tightened. My fingers twitched toward the glove cuff, trying to peel it back. I fought it with everything I had, clenching my fists, digging nails into rubber, focusing on the pain, the resistance, the fact that I was still here. The man took another step, eyes sharp now. "Take them off," he repeated, and it wasn't a request. The office lights flared bright, then dimmed. The carpet under my feet felt like it shifted, like the building was breathing. I realized in a flash of cold clarity, this place wasn't the office. It was a representation, a pressure chamber, a demonstration of control. And if he could change the rules here, he could change them in my apartment too. I backed away, still fighting my own hand. I stumbled into a cubicle wall. My body jerked again, trying to rip the glove off. I used my other hand, also gloved, to grab my wrist and hold it still like I was restraining someone else. The man watched, lips pressed tight. "Do you know what happens when you tear a root?" he asked softly. I didn't answer. He smiled again, but it was thin now, irritated. "It finds a new way," he said. "And it hurts on the way." He leaned forward slightly, as if confiding. "You can have less pain," he said. "You can have less missing time. You can even have moments of peace." My stomach twisted, and in exchange, I rasped. His smile returned to full width. "In exchange, you stop fighting," he said. "You stop trying to look behind the curtain. You do your job. My job. Work. Finance. The endless spreadsheets. The client calls. The compliance memos." It clicked in a way that made my skin crawl all over again. This wasn't some random curse. It wasn't a demon that picked me because it felt like it. It was a system, a pipeline, handshake, exposure, asset, procedure, compliance. Larkin Braith wasn't handling this. Larkin Braith was built around it. The man's eyes narrowed like he could hear my thoughts. "You shook my hand," he said, voice soft and almost pleased. "That was you choosing. I didn't choose shit," I snapped. His smile didn't falter. "You did," he said. "You accepted contact. You accepted continuity." My hand shook. I forced myself to breathe. In my mind, I grabbed onto the only anchor I had left, the schedule. 8:55 to dawn. If I could survive until dawn without giving in, maybe I could write more. Maybe I could leave something behind. Maybe I could find a crack. The office lights flickered again, and for a second, the world wavered. Like a mirage, I saw my apartment instead, just for a blink. The couch, the kitchen cabinet, the yellow post-it. Then the office snapped back. The man watched me carefully. "You're learning," he said again, but now it sounded like a threat. He stepped back and spread his hand slightly like, "Fine. Out your way. Go home," he said. The word hit me like a shove. The fluorescent lights flared, and I was on my apartment floor, gasping, my back against my couch, my hands still in black gloves. Real carpet, real stale air, real hum from the window. The dryer thumped steadily. I lay there shaking, heart trying to claw out of my chest. I ripped the gloves off and threw them across the room, then immediately regretted it because now I just made it easier for something to force my bare skin into contact later. I picked them up and stuffed them into the back of a drawer behind cereal boxes like they were contraband. I stumbled into the bathroom and threw up until my throat burned. When I stood up, wiping my mouth, I caught my reflection again and saw something new. A faint dark line under the skin of my neck, just below the jaw. Not a bruise, not a vein, a shadow, like a root pressed close to the surface. I swallowed hard and looked away. I spent that night in a notebook, writing like a man trying to outrun drowning. I wrote about the office that wasn't. I wrote about the man. I wrote about Gigi screaming. I wrote, "Do not go to the compliance room," in big letters and underlined it until the pen tore the paper. I wrote, "Gigi is trying to help, but she's trapped too," and then scratched it out because I didn't know if that was true. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I stayed away from the takeout bag like it was poison, because it probably was. Or worse, because it might taste good enough to make me grateful. Around dawn, when the sky outside went pale gray, the wave hit again. Same lead, same heaviness. I tried to keep riding through it, forcing my hand to move, forcing my brain to stay upright. My handwriting got worse. Words ran together. Then my pen froze mid-sentence. My fingers wouldn't close around it anymore. I watched my own hand go slack like a puppet whose strings had been cut. And underneath that helplessness, I felt something else. Not just the roots stirring. A presence. Close. Amused. Patient. Like it was leaning over my shoulder, reading what I wrote. My throat tightened. I tried to speak, to curse, to spit defiance, but my tongue felt thick and foreign in my mouth. Gigi's warning echoed. "He'll take your tongue first." My panic flared, and I tried to stand, to move, to do anything, but my muscles folded. I toppled sideways onto the couch, vision tunneling. As the darkness closed in, I felt a faint pressure at the back of my throat, like a hand there, gently reminding me who controlled the exits. Then nothing. When I woke up, it was 8:55 p.m. My notebook was closed and placed neatly on the table. My pen was capped. My apartment was tidy again. And my phone, my locked, useless phone, was sitting on top of the notebook like an offering. I picked it up with trembling hands and stared at the lock screen. No missed call, notifications. No new texts. Just a single note in the notification preview from an app one don't use. "Good job today. Keep it up." I don't know what broke in me then, exactly. Maybe it was the casualness of it. The way someone could invade my body, rearrange my home, send messages like I was a pet, and still expect me to keep showing up. Or maybe it was the memory, just a flicker, of Gigi on the carpet screaming. I grabbed the phone and threw it across the room as hard as I could. It hit the wall and bounced onto the floor with a dull smack. For a second, I felt satisfied. Then the panic hit again because smashing my phone didn't free me. It just removed one more tool. And anyway, when I picked it up, it wasn't cracked. It wasn't broken. The screen was fine. Like even that act of rage had been filtered through a system designed not to let me damage the asset. I started laughing. It turned into sobbing. It turned into laughter again. Because what the fuck else do you do when you realize you can't even break your own phone without permission? That night, I finally did something I should have done earlier. I listened to the building. Not my apartment, the building. I pressed my ear to the wall by the window, the spot where the hum was strongest. I tried to hear beyond it. At first, it was just the dryer's thump and the faint buzz of the city. Then when I focused, I heard something else, faint, distant, like sound traveling through pipes. A voice, muffled, female, crying, laughing. It was too distorted to tell. Then another sound, a dull banging, rhythmic like someone hitting a wall with their fist. 3 slow hits. Pause. 3 slow hits again. It went on like that, repeating. A signal. My heart hammered. I pulled back, then leaned in again, listening harder. The banging changed. 2 hits. Pause. 1 hit. Pause. 2 hits. My skin prickled. It wasn't random. Someone else was awake. Someone else was trapped in their own unit, hearing the hum, hearing the dryer, living on the same schedule. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe someone on another floor. Maybe someone across the city. Maybe Gigi, if she lived in this building and I'd never known. I wanted to respond, to bang back, to say, I hear you. I'm here. I'm not alone. Then I remembered what had been written in my notebook. He doesn't like the word alone. It makes him restless. My throat tightened. I didn't bang. I didn't move. I just listened, heart pounding, while the unknown person kept signaling into the walls like a ship in fog. At some point, the banging stopped. The silence afterward felt like a threat. I spent that night writing again, because writing was the only thing it hadn't taken from me yet. I wrote about the gloves and how they worked until they didn't. I wrote about the office and the missing door handles and the stairwell that ended wrong. I wrote about how the barrier didn't stop the thing driving me, only the part of me that wanted to live like a person. I wrote down every rule again in my own handwriting beneath Gigi's, trying to make them stick in my brain the way you write down directions because you don't trust yourself not to forget. I wrote a note to myself in huge letters on the last page of the notebook. If you ever find yourself wanting to shake someone's hand, don't. That's not you. My arm twitched while I wrote it. Not a normal tremor. A little jerk, like something inside me disagreeing. More than once, my hand reached for the pen when I wasn't thinking about it, like it had its own agenda, like it wanted to stop me. The headaches come and go now. Sometimes they feel like nails again. Sometimes they feel like nothing, and the nothing is worse because it means I'm being rewarded. My body twitches at random. Sometimes my fingers flex without me asking. Sometimes my arm reaches for a cup or a piece of paper and I have to grab it with my other hand like I'm restraining a dog. The bruises on my wrists fade and then reappear in new places. Little circular marks like I've been held down. Like I've been strapped in somewhere. Like I'm being kept safe for my own good. I still can't unlock my phone. The passcode is still wrong, and the longer this goes, the less I'm sure the code ever belonged to me at all. Sometimes I catch myself standing in the kitchen, staring at the cabinet where the Post-it is, and I can't remember why I'm there until I see the rules and my stomach drops all over again. Sometimes I look at my hands, and I swear they look slightly different. The lines in my palms deeper, like they've been folded and unfolded too many times. And the worst part, the part that makes me want to chew through my own ribs, is that there are moments during the night when I feel calm. Not because I'm okay, because something in me is settling, like a root sinking deeper into soil. I'm writing this now because I don't know how many nights I'll get to be the one holding the pen. I don't know how long before my mouth starts saying things I don't mean even when I'm awake. I don't know how long before compliance stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like relief. I can only hope we wake up tomorrow